Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is home ownership consultant Ross Kay from the wealthyhomeowner.ca, Canada's authority on home ownership. Welcome back to the show, Ross.
And thanks for having me back, Jim.
Ross, any comments on Canada's new finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, replacing Bill Morneau? Have we just shuffled the deck chairs on the Titanic?
Look, we've got Siddall, we had Carney, we had Poloz, we had Morneau. That was the four guys who have led us to where we are today economically, as far as I'm concerned. Carney started it all off. He started it off with helping us get out of the recession that we were in, and basically removed Canada from the recession and the housing correction that America went through. There was nothing really wrong with that. It was continuation of the policy, and his inability to accept the heat that the Canadian housing market had to be reined in, that he refused to accept. Then he hightailed it to England, where he did the exact same thing in England. So let's be honest here. Carney created two of the largest housing bubbles in worldwide history. Poloz continued on Carney's path. He continued on a path and he didn't change it. He too, in our opinion, from the data-driven, didn't want to lose face. He didn't want to be in charge when the economy turned into a recession. So again, he used the housing market, home ownership debt, to drive the Canadian economy. Siddall has refused to criticize the Canadian Real Estate Association for its false housing market metrics. He instead would rather insult the intellect of the Canadian family. Because he believes Canadians are stupid, they're irrational, they're spendthrifts. And we have Morneau, a man who, for whatever reason, decided to enter politics when clearly his interests were somewhere else. He simply went along for the ride, basically gaslighting anyone who would argue against him. Those are the four people that we look at. We look at Flaherty as a guy who kept Canada out of the recession and then tried to rein in the housing market before he was no longer in that role. Joe Oliver, was just, in our opinion, was clueless to the portfolio that he was given. Now we have Freeland taking over. What exactly is this government going to do, Jim? What moves are they going to make to pull us out of this recession that we're in? Because we really don't care what any of the economists say, Jim. We know the magnitude of the recession Canada is in right now. Our housing data shows the magnitude of the correction that we're in. Peak employment always follows between 4 and 6 months peak housing market. So we do a metric what's called the trading rate. The trading rate measures how the housing stock is being rotated. In other words, how long are you in your house before you move to your next one? The peak trading rate always happens before peak employment does. Now, what I can say when I say always, it means as far back as the available data exists, and the way that we read the data, this has always been true. And what your employment doesn't reach the previous peak until 4 to 6 months after the home trading rate reaches or exceeds its previous peak. The correlation or the causation is 100%. Now, whether or not Canadian consumers know before the economists do, they've got that spider sense tingling up and down their spine that there's something wrong here, so we're not going to move. I don't know. What I do know is the trading rate peaks always before the employment rate peaks, not the reverse. These guys are clueless to this metric, how we measure it. They're clueless to the history. They're clueless to the data because they believe stories from organized real estate. Christina Freeland has no previous experience managing an economy the size of Canada, let alone even a company, a business. She's unqualified. So that means when she takes this role, she is going to be swayed by the opinion of paid staffers, bureaucrats, their opinions, the things that they believe, which are simply going to mirror those that Morneau were told to believe, Poloz, Carney, and Siddall. They're all exactly the same. So what does this mean, Canada? What does this mean to our listeners? This means that in June of 2020, Canada just hit a peak of household mortgage debt being booked again. A peak that we hadn't seen since way back in 2017. Mortgage debt, from our perspective, drives the economy. Now, when you step back and you think that household consumption eats up about 70% of the gross domestic product in this country, it only makes sense that that consumption has to be paid for somewhere, through wages or through the taking on of more debt by Canadian families. What the government has done by not dealing with this on day one in a manner that allowed us to extract ourselves from this 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from the date of the lockdown means that the only answer that these people have is household debt. The only thing they can do is ask Canadians to take on more household debt to stimulate the economy. Now, you don't have to take my word for this. Evan Siddall himself was on the record last week chastising Canadian banks for lending money to families to buy a home, where his exact words were allowing Canadians to buy homes stops them from spending money in the rest of the economy. What? Why did the Canadian press not jump on that? Let me get this straight. The leader of CMHC publicly, in written words, in a letter to the Canadian Bankers Association, says it's better for Canadians to spend their money than it is for them to save it in the family home. What a wealth-destroying comment by Evan Siddall. Does anyone really think that Christina Freeland, the same person who felt it was okay to go down to the United States and insult the President of the United States repeatedly on national TV in the United States, to come back to Canada and insult the President of the United States, the only person that you're going to be renegotiating NAFTA with, and you are arrogant enough to believe that you can go down there and insult the guy, call him an idiot, whether or not he is or not, I don't really care, in order for you to look good. It's the most insane thing that I've ever seen, Jim. A leader takes the hit for the team. The hit for the team is not what Morneau just did. Morneau just quit on our country. Bill Morneau quit on Canada. The moment when the country needed a finance minister the most, he quit. This has got nothing to do with we. This has got nothing to do with his other failings, his other small. Look, Canadians are forgiving people. If he had made a legitimate mistake about not listing his villa in France, we would have forgiven him. If he made an honest mistake, not giving that paying the $41,000 back, we would forgive him. Even if it was in hindsight, we would have forgiven him. But what we can't forget, regardless of the party that the minister, any minister, is functioning under, is to quit on Canada. As far as we're concerned, Poloz quit in Canada. Why did he not extend his term to get us through this downturn? Because it appears that he was offered the opportunity. Carney quit on Canada and took a job over in England. Morneau quit on Canada and now claims that he's going to be going for the OECD secretary role. What is Siddall going to do? He's going to quit, and he's probably going to take some university post or something to do with the housing sector after going around brandishing his beliefs about housing, which are totally fictitious and debunked with housing data. Christina Freeland is not qualified to step into this role she's going to take. What that means is we're going to have an election. We're going to have a turnover of power to another party, probably. I mean, I don't know how anybody can weather this. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew Scheer won the popular vote by a substantial margin in the last election, something for whatever reason CBC fails to ever report. Where in the States, CBC is happy to report continually that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote over Trump. I don't care who's in power. I don't care who's got their hands on the reins of power. I don't care if you're a conservative, a liberal, a Democrat, a Republican, an NDP, a libertarian, or a socialist. Well, socialists I probably care. I don't care. What I care is, are you willing to lead and take the hit for those who elect you? Because if you're not that person, it is unethical for you to run to be voted into power by those you are seeking to serve. It is unethical, in my opinion. What Morneau did this week, Jim, is the most unethical thing I have seen in politics, from my perspective, that I can see. Because I view what he has done is a total disgrace. You do not quit on your country. You do not quit on Canadian families the moment you feel the heat. You take the heat even if you get burned, because you have to believe in the greater good. You have to believe that you can do good. I don't see that in Siddall, Carney, Poloz, and Morneau. I don't see it in Trudeau. I see rock stars looking to accept accolades, but failing to ever go back into the kitchen and cook the meal for the rest of the band.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after this.
Value from success, growth, and discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ross Kay. Ross, Leanna in Burlington, Ontario asks, I'm a longtime listener and remember your family dominating our local market for years on end. Wow. They remember you, Ross. Our local realtors are claiming Burlington has gotten busier in sales again. You say otherwise. Why?
My hometown, Burlington. Okay. Why? So, was it Leanne? Leanne?
Yes. Leanna.
Okay, so Leanne, okay. So here's the question, Leanna. Leanna, why is Burlington, Ontario the only place in Canada where a 72-page report, housing market report, is now being released each month? Little tiny Burlington has the Realtors Association of Hamilton, Burlington, and the Canadian Real Estate Association releasing 72 pages of housing market stats for the city of Burlington. Toronto doesn't have that. Vancouver doesn't have that. Calgary doesn't have that. Montreal doesn't have that. Only Burlington. Why? Why does Hamilton, our neighboring city, part of the board that my family served on for almost 50 years, why do they have a 192-page report for a city the size of Hamilton? 192 pages is in their MLS report that the Hamilton Burlington Real Estate Association and the Canadian Real Estate Association are now issuing. Why? Why is the only place in Canada where all real estate stats from 2017 and before have been removed from the website? Where has the decade of data or stats that were previously available to any consumer in Hamilton and Burlington with a computer now been removed? Why does the one letter that exists from 2018, the start of 2018, mention that, all of the sales numbers we gave you in 2017 were wrong. We apologize. Here are our brand new numbers. Only in Hamilton, Burlington. Why? Why do we say otherwise? Because the Canadian Real Estate Association knows that were living here. They know the history of my family has with the Canadian Real Estate Association and the Realtors Association of Hamilton and Burlington. They know they can't challenge us. That's why they came out with a 72-page report in my hometown. Listen to the absurdity of this, Jim. There were only about 370 sales in Burlington in July, but there's a 72-page report. That's 4 sales for each page in the report. Toronto supposedly had 11,000, and their report is 27 pages. Why? Why, when you look at the Burlington benchmark price produced by the Realtors Association of Hamilton, Burlington, and Korea, why does it say totally different numbers than the benchmark price created by the Toronto Real Estate Board and the Canadian Real Estate Association from Burlington? Why do those two numbers, are they totally different? Why does the Realtors Association of Hamilton Burlington report for Burlington on benchmark price make you look at a chart without telling you what the actual benchmark price is, without putting it in writing, the number? You've got to guess where it is on the chart, where the Toronto Real Estate Board gives you their number exactly. Why? It's because the nation has been conned. It's because everyone in Canada believes a story that isn't true. They have gone to the extremes of producing 192 pages of nothing for the city of Hamilton, where the city of Toronto, which had about 3 times the number of sales, only puts the standard 27 pages they always put out. Burlington had 72 pages. These are brand new reports issued only over the last couple of months. These have never been issued before. They are going into the individual MLS district, like the sub-district of an MLS system, which is basically a few forward sortation areas, and then giving a report for that area. There are some areas where there was no home sold, yet they're still giving you that page. Why? The reason why is quite simple. It's the same reason why they don't challenge us. Why are we allowed to be on Howe Street every week saying whatever we want about the Canadian Real Estate Association, and they never challenge us? If this was anybody else, there'd be charges laid. There would be a letter from the lawyer being filed out saying, hey, cease and desist, or we're going to charge you with giving us a bad name, a defamation. Doesn't happen with us. We don't even worry about it. Why? Because we know better. We can prove everything that we say. So, Leanna, sales have not gotten busier in Burlington. You can go to any of the local sold sites, and you can drill down to any community you want in Burlington, look at sales over the last year in that area, and you will see there's no house price change. Oh, except, Leanna, if you're using the Bungol website, bungol.ca, bungol.ca. Bungol was the easiest website for anyone, for any consumer to use to track house price change in Canada, in the Greater Toronto Area. Because the way that the website was designed, you could take sales off and put it into a spreadsheet and review it yourself. The design of the site allowed that to happen. You could not do it with the site. You had to do it with copy and paste, but you could do it. The Toronto Real Estate Board shut Bungol down from having that sold data. Now, who publishes Bungol data on solds to debunk TREB? Who does that? Well, I believe it's our firm who does that. Bungol is shut down. Why? What the why is, as we exit the next couple of months, everything that you've heard in this show will be proven true. And organized real estate is shaking in their boots right now.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after this.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HoweStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HoweStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HoweStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ross Kay. Ross, Stan in Toronto asked, I'm a first-time home buyer looking to buy our first house in Toronto. Sales in July were crazy high. Already realtors are claiming the first 2 weeks of August are crazier still. Who should we believe about Big T.O.?
Well, this one's quite simple, Stan. He's first-time buyer. First-time buyer. Okay. Who measures first-time buyers in the market, Stan? Stan, what real estate agent, housing analyst, national economist, government body measures first-time buyers? Nobody except us. So here's what I would say to Stan. Go to your local person that you're getting your information from, because you're asking who you should believe, and you should ask them this. Please give me how you measure first-time buyers' share in the market. Please give me that information and show me how it impacts the average selling price in a given month. And you're going to see a dumb look in their face. The economists at Bank of Nova Scotia, CIBC, Royal Bank, TD, who go around as commenting on the housing market as if they know what they're talking about, can't show you this metric. They can't show it to you. Okay, we can. So, and how can you know what we're saying is true? Let's say that we said to you, the only way you can get the house price gain reported by the Toronto Real Estate Board in July, year over year, of $137,000. The only way that can happen is if the first-time buyers had abandoned the market, right? The only way it could happen is if the people that were mainly buying in the month of July this year were trade-up buyers. How can you prove that? Well, we would tell you this way. We would say the number of first-time buyers, or the number of trade-up buyers, the number of trade-up buyers who were buying in July should have increased by 1,700. So we use a metric that measures first-time buyers. And with the reverse of that, we know how many trade-up buyers sales are going to have to take place. This is a forecasted number. So after the fact, we can go back and check. So we would have told you in June, should have been looking for an extra 1,700 trade-up sales in the month of July. And that was going to cause, once again, unprecedented claims about house price growth, which were untrue. All it means is, in the month of July, more trade-up buyers purchased a home than first-time buyers. The share of sales to first-time buyers decreased. We would have told you need to look for 1,600 extra sales versus what is reported last year. You would have said, well, Ross, how can I check that? Well, we would have told you, go to the Toronto Real Estate Board's website and download last July's sales stat release and download this year's stat release. You would have downloaded those two. Then we would have told you this. Look, if what we're saying is true, that you should be able to see an extra 1,700 trade-up sales take place, that means you should be looking at single detached homes. Because if you know where the sales mix is right now, we wouldn't have told you to look at townhomes and semi-detached in particular. We would have told you to focus on single detached in July of this year. You would have said, okay. So then you would have looked at the two charts. You would have looked at this year's number, and you would have saw that the Toronto Real Estate Board members reported 5,633 sales of single detached homes. Oh, then if you looked at last year's July, you would have saw that they reported 3,941. Oh my word. That's almost 1,700. No, it can't be this easy. Yes, it's that easy. We would also tell you Ross, you're just making these numbers out. How do you know why did you know they weren't going to buy semis or townhouses this time in the month of July of 2020? Well, we would have told you, for proof of that, you need to look at the houses that sold over $2 million. Because if what we're saying is true, that the sales mix had moved, the buyer mix had moved to the more expensive homes in the Toronto Real Estate Board, then the number of sales in the $2 million plus category would have had to increase way more than the number of sales that were taking place, the increase in sales taking place. Well, what happened? Well, guess what, folks? When you get your calculator out, you'll see that in July of 2019, there were only 166 $2 million plus homes that were sold in the Toronto Real Estate Board. This year, there were 413. What that means is this, folks. Single detached homes over $2 million increased. Sales increased 73% year over year in July. 73%. We told you to look for 1,700 sales. Well, there weren't 1,700. There were actually 1,692. So we were out by 8. We would also tell you that there's probably 8 lazy real estate agents who didn't report their July sale until August. And then when we correct the August numbers, those 8 sales that we're missing, we're going to find those in August. That's who you should believe, Stan. You should believe someone who can do the simple, most basic housing calculation, which is to be able to calculate the share of sales going to first-time buyers in a given month. Because you need to know that in order to understand the house price, the average purchase price that is being reported that month. Because if you don't do that, you're going to believe house prices increased $137,000 in Toronto by the Toronto Real Estate Board in July of 2020 year over year. You're going to believe that when you should be believing someone who tells you, hey, look for 1,700 sales of single detached homes. Oh, look, double check homes that were sold over $2 million to see what kind of increase the share in sales they gained. People have to remember, sales only increased 29% year over year, but the purchase of homes over $2 million increased 73%. House prices didn't increase $137,000 in Toronto year over year. The sales mix changed. The buyer mix changed. That's why our $10,000 prize exists, because they can't prove house prices change, because they don't. The only thing that changes is the sales mix. And unless you understand how to read it and how to calculate it, you are going to be clueless until a housing correction wipes you out.
Ross, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me on, Jim.
My guest has been home ownership consultant Ross Kay from thewealthyhomeowner.ca. If you have any questions for Ross, you can send them to info@housestreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HouseStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HouseStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.